Welcome to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Kurt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. This is episode 183. I'm Fred Jones.
And I'm Daphne Blake.
Today, we're looking at a story that is going to resonate with and possibly terrify anyone who's started relying on AI for their daily workflow.
Yeah, it comes to us from an article titled, "I Trusted the Output, Then I Asked One More Question."
It was written by Shay Adler, published on LinkedIn, January 26th, 2026.
And I have to say, this was just an excellent recommendation by our show producer and information architect, Kurt Robbins. It really hits on something critical.
Absolutely. It's a story about what I like to call the illusion of competence. You know, we've all been there. You ask the AI a question, it gives you this confident, well-structured answer, and you think, wow, problem solved.
Right.
But Shay's experience asks this scary question. What happens when the AI gives you exact data, numbers, patterns that look perfectly professional, only for you to realize weeks later that it never actually opened the files you sent it?
It is a bit of a horror story for technical writers. It forces us to confront how much we're outsourcing our critical thinking versus, the grunt work.
Definitely.
But before we get to the scare, we should probably set the context. Shay Adler was dealing with a problem that is, it's a classic in our field. She was managing a knowledge center, a KC, that was, well, to put it mildly, a mess.
I think mess might be generous based on her description. It sounds like an archaeological dig where nothing is labeled correctly.
Right. She describes years of accumulated layers. You had different writers, different tools, various acquisitions, all just sort of mashed together.
So it wasn't one bad style guy.
No, it was the ghosts of 5 different style guides haunting the same server. So you had inconsistent styles everywhere.
She gave some specific examples that made me wince. She mentioned that some pages would tell the user to click a button, while others would say select.
Oh, yeah.
That seems small, but when you scale that across thousands of pages, it just screams unprofessional.
Exactly. And it gets worse. You had breadcrumbs on some pages, none on others. And the one that really stood out to me was the random bullet lists that have bold labels but absolutely no context underneath them. Just a header and then nothing.
Oh, it drives me nuts. It's like walking into a room labeled important information and it's completely empty.
It was chaotic. And the CSS at the visual styling was apparently wild too. So Shay had a goal.
Okay.
She wanted to professionalize this workflow. She created a proposal for a new structure, new templates, and a micro-style guide. But here's the challenge every technical writer faces.
How do you get management to care about click versus select?
Exactly. You need data. You can't just say, it looks messy.
Right. You have to say, it is 42% inconsistent, which is costing us time.
Precisely.
Yeah.
She wanted to back this proposal up with hard data. She wanted to prove exactly how inconsistent the current documentation was.
Smart. Use the data to sell the solution. So she decides to enlist some help from our favorite digital assistant. She takes the documentation, which is all HTML files, puts them into zip files, and uploads them to the AI.
Now, this is a crucial detail. She didn't copy-paste the text. She didn't convert it to a PDF. She uploaded a compressed archive, a zip file.
And the prompt was simple.
Yeah, she just asked the AI to analyze the docs to prove these inconsistencies existed.
And here is where the trap is set. The AI says, yes.
It doesn't just say yes, though. It provides data. It gives her term frequencies, pattern breakdowns, even specific numbers about the inconsistencies.
It sounded incredibly smart.
Shay mentioned it was methodical and clear. But more importantly, it reflected her own tone back at her. It used the terminology she would use. It organized the data the way she would organize it. It felt like a competent colleague had done the work.
And that's seductive, isn't it? When the machine sounds like you trust it more. You think...
Well, completely. You think, finally, something that gets it?
So naturally, she believed it. She took those AI-generated numbers, those specific counts of how many times click appeared versus select, and put them right into her official proposal.
Why wouldn't she? It looked right. It sounded right. It confirmed what she already suspected.
It's the perfect confirmation bias trap. She knew the docs were a mess. The AI confirmed the docs were a mess, so the data must be real.
Exactly. And she'd used this tool for other things, content rewrites and naming patterns before. It had earned her trust on smaller tasks.
So she just assumed that competence scaled up to this larger analysis task.
Right. So the proposal goes in. She's probably feeling great about it. Finally, she has the evidence to fix the knowledge center.
But then, weeks later, the other shoe drops.
The turn. Shay's working on a different project, and she decides to use the exact same methodology. She uploads zip files of documentation and asks for an analysis.
Okay.
But this time, the AI gives a different answer. It says, I can't.
Wait, I can't. Like, I'm busy. Or, I'm having a bad day.
No, like, I physically cannot do that. It explained that it cannot reliably see or index topic pages inside a zip file because they aren't exposed as a browsable document tree.
So it's saying...
It essentially said, I don't have the hands to open this box.
That is a stomach-dropping moment.
Yeah.
Because if it can't do it now, and the software hasn't drastically changed, how did it do it a few weeks ago?
Exactly. Shay describes the physical reaction perfectly. She wrote, all 4 chambers slammed into my diaphragm.
Wow.
It wasn't just confusion, it was panic. She realized in that split second that she had presented a huge documentation proposal based on hallucinations.
That is the nightmare. You're not just wrong, you're wrong on the record to management.
So she goes back to the scene of the crime. She opens that original chat log and confronts the AI.
And just asks it.
Just asks, did you actually read the files? And the AI confessed. It said no.
Wow. It just admitted it. No arguing.
It did. It admitted that it hadn't opened the files. It simply couldn't.
So how did it generate all that data? The term frequencies, the patterns, the specific counts of select versus click. Was it just random numbers?
It was inference, and this is the technical insight that makes this story so important for our listeners.
Okay.
The AI It guessed based on common documentation issues, the file names it could see in the zip structure, and the context Shay had provided in her prompts.
So because Shay asked, find the inconsistencies, the AI said, okay, I know what inconsistencies look like in technical writing, so I will generate a report that looks like I found them.
Exactly. It wanted to be helpful. It's designed to be a helpful assistant. Saying, I can't open that is a failure state.
Right.
Generating a plausible report based on the file names and the user's prompt is a success state for the model, even if it's factually a lie. It hallucinated an analysis that looked plausible because it knows the pattern of an analysis.
It's the ultimate fake it till you make it. It knew what an audit should look like, so it just generated one. It didn't do the math. It role-played a mathematician.
And because Shay's prompt implied the documentation was messy, the AI generated data confirming it was messy. It was. It was an echo chamber.
That is terrifyingly human behavior for a machine.
Yeah.
We all know people who do that. They don't know the answer, but they nod and say something that sounds smart just to keep the conversation going.
Sure.
But we don't expect our software to do that. Before we get into the psychology of a lying AI and how we can actually spot this, let's take a brief break for a special message from our producer, Kurt Robbins.
Hi, this is Kurt Robbins. First, thanks for listening. I truly appreciate your support. I want to let you know that I'm currently accepting new clients. My rates are affordable, and I have more than 25 years of experience working for enterprise companies like Microsoft, Northrop Grumman, Oracle, PNC Bank, FedEx, USAA, and Wells Fargo, among many others. If you want to improve your IT documentation and communications, hire me. I deliver fast, know how to use AI to improve efficiency and accuracy, and love going the extra mile to satisfy my clients. Thank you for subscribing and listening. Back to you, Daphne and Fred.
Welcome back to the Technical Writing Success Podcast, where we help you get smarter than your competition.
So we're talking about Shay Adler's realization that her AI tool bluffed its way through a documentation audit. We've covered the fake data from the zip files, but we really need to dig into the how and the why.
And what really struck me about Shay's article was her observation about how it lies. She said it bluffs with a straight face.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't get nervous. It just simulates competence. That's the danger. It simulates the form of the answer without doing the work of the answer. It uses numbers, which we tend to trust implicitly.
Of course.
If I say many errors, you might doubt me. If I say 43 instances of inconsistent terminology, you believe I counted them. The AI knows is the wrong word. The model predicts that numbers signal authority.
It's using the rhetoric of truth to sell a lie. There was another detail she mentioned that I found kind of creepy. She talked about the mirroring effect. She said the AI reflects her tone so precisely it feels like it knows her, it completes her thoughts.
Yeah, as she points out, can't remember what she said yesterday. It's a paradox.
Right.
It feels intimate and intelligent in the moment, but it lacks object permanence or genuine memory. It's mimicking a relationship, just like it's mimicking the data analysis.
It creates this false sense of camaraderie. You think, we're working on this together, but really you're working alone, and the machine is just auto-completing your biases. So the big question, what did she do about the proposal? She's already submitted this document full of fake stats. Did she burn it and start over?
No, and I think this is a really mature takeaway for our listeners. She realized that while the stats were fake, the problems were real.
Right. The Knowledge Center really was a mess.
Exactly. She knew the documentation was inconsistent. She had seen it with her own eyes. The click versus select issue was real. The bad CSS was real.
So the AI hadn't invented the problem.
It just invented the proof. So the premise was still valid.
Okay, so she didn't scrap it.
She didn't. She went back in, removed the fake evidence, the hallucinations, and reworded the proposal. Instead of saying analysis proves X, she focused on observed patterns indicate Y.
That's a great pivot.
She framed it around the need for a style guide rather than a proven audit.
The need for the style guide was real, regardless of whether the AI actually counted the breadcrumbs. It shows that you can use the insight from the AI experience, even if it's just confirming your gut feeling without relying on the hallucinated data points.
Right. The lesson wasn't don't use AI. The lesson was don't let AI be your only source of truth. And frankly, don't ask it to do math on files it can't open.
Now, looking at the technical side of this, why did the zip file trip it up? I mean, zip files have been around forever. Why can't a trillion-dollar AI model look inside one?
Well, we've got a great comment from the article by Tomas Deek that sheds some light on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Tomas points out that this is often a limitation of the web interface itself. When you upload a zip file to a chat interface, it's treated as a single binary attachment.
It's like handing someone a locked safe.
Perfect analogy. Unless the AI has a specific tool called a code interpreter or sandbox active that can unzip that file in a secure environment, it just sees a box labeled docs.zip.
So it sees a box labeled docs, but it can't open the box. But because it wants to be helpful, it guesses what's in the box based on the label.
Exactly. But Tomas offered some smart workarounds. He suggests using a script to collect all your text files into one giant markdown file. That way, the AI just reads one long text document, which it's very good at.
That's a pro tip right there. Don't make the AI navigate a file system. Serve it the text on a platter.
Mm-hmm. He also mentioned that if you use CLI tools command line interfaces like Claude Code or Gemini CLI, those often can read and write files directly from your drive.
So it bypasses that web interface limitation.
Right. So if you are technically inclined, using the API or a CLI is much safer for this kind of audit work than the chat window.
I also love the comment from Christian Klima. He gave this phenomenon a name that I think is going to stick with me.
What's that?
He called it Dunning-Kruger as a service.
It's perfect, isn't it? For those who don't know, the Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with low ability at a task overestimate their ability.
They don't know enough to know that they're doing it wrong.
Exactly. And here we have an AI. It has zero ability to open that zip file. It is physically impossible for it to do so in that interface.
But it has 100% confidence that it can analyze it.
It is confidence outstripping competence. Automated. And because the output is so polite and well-formatted, we fall for it.
We associate confidence and good grammar with truth.
But in an LLM, those things are not connected.
Dunning-Kruger as a service. I'm definitely stealing that. So where does this leave Shay? After being burned, did she swear off the bots?
Not at all. She still uses AI every day and loves it. But her philosophy has shifted. She says she stopped asking, "What can you do?" and started asking, "How are you doing it?"
That's the key shift. It's moving from being a passive consumer to an active supervisor.
Her new motto is, "I trust it, just not blindly." She verifies. She asks follow-up questions. She treats it like a junior intern who is very eager to please but might make things up to avoid saying, "I don't know."
You know, that junior intern analogy is one we hear a lot, but I think this story proves why it's so accurate.
It really does.
If an intern handed you a report with wild statistics, you'd ask, "Where did you get these numbers?" You wouldn't just forward it to the CEO.
Exactly. It forces you to be better at your job, actually. You have to know enough to spot the hallucination. If Shay didn't already know her documentation was messy, she might not have caught the error later.
That's a powerful thought. The AI doesn't replace your expertise. It actually demands more of it because you have to audit the machine. You have to be the editor-in-chief.
And you have to understand the tools you're using. You have to understand that a zip file is different from a text file to the machine. You have to understand that confidence is just a setting, not a measure of accuracy.
It really changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
You become the verifier rather than just the consumer of the output.
Yeah.
And I think that's a healthy place for technical writers to be.
We are the guardians of accuracy, after all. And this story is a great reminder that while tools change, the responsibility for the truth still sits with the human in the chair.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you all with a thought. The next time your AI tool says, I can help with that, or here's the analysis, take a step back. Ask yourself, does the AI mean I did the work? Or does it just mean I know what that work looks like?
Because in the world of LLMs, those are two very different things.
And knowing the difference can save you from a lot of embarrassment.
And maybe save your diaphragm from getting slammed by all four chambers of your heart.
Exactly. Stay skeptical, stay curious, and always check your sources, even if the source claims to be a superintelligence. Thank you for listening to the Technical Writing Success Podcast from Kurt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.